this just fantasy? Indeed so. We're back with Tolkien's World, Paintings of Middle-earth, Part 3. We're going to get into the rest of the Tolkien canon. We've covered The Hobbit, we've covered the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Now let's move on to the Silmarillion. So first off, we have, I think, a figure that is very prominent in people's Silmarillion knowledge, maybe, or just for artists, a very prominent figure to depict, which is Ulmo, Lord of the Waters, a Poseidon-like figure. And I am super into this crustacean-covered Ulmo with tentacles coming out of his head, like a watery beard, and scaly skin. Yes, this is indeed a fantastical image, and we have Roger Garland to thank for it. Yeah, very human face, but then, yeah, he's got these weird things all over him, and I can't tell if this is his head or a hat. But it doesn't matter, because he's almost Lord of the Waters. Getting almost Cthulhu vibes with these tentacles coming off him. And, yeah, a very interesting approach. But, yeah, what else do you expect from a mythological figure? Here we have another Roger Garland piece, The Chaining of Melkor. Melkor being one of the names of Morgoth. And this is essentially the other. Let's just get our terms right. They are the Ainur or the Valar. They are somewhat like gods, but they're also like demigods or lesser gods, because there's the one above all, which is God, and then there's these lesser beings that are involved, maybe equivalent to angels. I don't like Tolkien. He was really trying to avoid a polytheism while still dealing with polytheism. So I'm just going to take him at his word and say they're not gods, but I'm also going to say that this is the chaining of, I guess, the evil god. And another Roger Garland piece where he's using real prominent greens. I like that. And yes, very humane, human-like figure here. He's wearing like a barbarian sash. You know, he can't be completely naked now, can he? I guess he could have, but Roger Garland didn't want to do that. Just a great evocative piece. And if you don't know the story behind it, it kind of invites one, frankly. So yeah, really cool. Here we have John Howe again with The Fall of Gondolin. I remember seeing this piece a long time ago and just being very blown away, and also strongly desiring to see a live action adaptation of this, because this is an assault on a kingdom of elves that involves dragons and Balrogs and orcs. It's incredible to imagine, and I love this prominent black dragon right here, the white walls of Gondolin, and this just fires my imagination. All these little pikes sticking out, all these people, this prominent figure here. You could consider them Morgoth, potentially, or perhaps it's not Morgoth and it's Sauron as like a field lieutenant. And some great orcs here. It's just a badass image that evokes so much and makes me want to know more. And yeah, you could almost miss this Balrog right here. It's incredible. More stuff like this, writers and artists. This is just exciting, and it's this testament of good and evil going on here, and I am delighted by it. So here we have more kind of creative and creation story sort of elements, or just more myth making here from the Silmarillion and Roger Garland. We have Arundel and Elwing. And I see the seabird imagery that usually goes along with Numenor, and a ship flying through the sky. It just feels very mythological. And it's very evocative. I'm very taken with it. And I feel like I'm guessing this must have been a book cover, because I'm imagining the Silmarillion Tolkien up here, because it just seems like with the negative space there, it just feels like a book cover. And if it is indeed a book cover, I'm going to put the image of it here. And if it isn't, it should have been one. There we go. Some awesomeness here from Inger Edelfelt with the death of Glaurung, one of the many dragons or dragon-like creatures in Tolkien's universe. It's interesting because we only get to see one in all of the main stories that we get from Tolkien, and that's Smaug from The Hobbit. But I want more dragons. What else can I say? And I love this big, fat lizard creature we got going on here that blends into the stones around him. And the figures, Glaurung here chiding Ninor, and Turin being killed after killing Glaurung. And the story is yours to discover. I just really love all these big spines on this big lizard. And just a great expression there. Here we have another Roger Garland, and I'm guessing this is a book cover potentially again, and this is The Gates of Morn from the Book of Lost Tales. It just seems, again, very mythological. Like, look at this sun that's almost encapsulated in a mechanism. And the gates of morn, I'm guessing, are the gates of the morning. And love these dragon fixtures here. This immense gate. And the world waiting down here. I think there's a loss of mythology in fantasy art these days, and in art in general. And anything that is mythological is tied specifically to a real world mythology. I love the idea of just people making their own myths, and I want to see more of that and talk about it and show it on this channel. So here we have the death of Glorund, which is very much Tolkien riffing on the Fafnir Sigurd or Siegfried tale of him waiting in the gully for the dragon and then stabbing upward. John Howe here just showing us how much he knows about lizards and scales. Very crocodilian in here, but then the head gets kind of lizard-like. It's like a big dinosaur with fire sparking out of his mouth. I love the little touches of the little sparks in there. And this big upward thrust here from this guy. This sword is probably huge. You see, I love his touch on the spray here. Just feels like a rushing water. And these tiny little eyes. What a great dragon, honestly. Not every dragon needs wings. Here we have the Smith of Wootton Major. Clearly a book cover. That's where the title goes, right there. Roger Garland again. I love the little touch right here. I like a painted border, and I also love that he pops in and out of it. I will say he looks kind of disinterested, but I guess it's kind of like when I get to drawing, I get in the zone, and just kind of zero in. Another Roger Garland piece, and again another book cover, I'm assuming. The Haven of Morionde on the Lost Road. So here we have Sauron making a big display of his power here, upending the ships of Numenor and just displaying his power. I love the inclusion of the eye right here, and even the hand here, hand of Saruman maybe. But yeah, I love this early form of Sauron, and he is displaying his power so that the people of Numenor will listen to him and be misled, sadly. So here we have the Return of the Shadow, which is interesting because I need to look more into what the Return of the Shadow, and I know Tolkien pretty well, but I'm not sure if it's just another take on the story of the Lord of the Rings. It's just summarized in a different perspective. But I really enjoy this take of a kind of waterlogged Nazgul choking up water as it crawls out as the hobbits escape. And these monstrous fingers and such. I don't know. There's something kind of funny about that. I enjoy it, but I'm curious. I want to know more about this Return of the Shadow, because there was a reference to it before that was Gowering of the Shire, but that is it. Short but sweet, and the rest of the book is about the artist, and we get little biographies of each one, and I'm grateful to all of them for their work. It's very inspirational. And of course, the three maybe biggest names here in Tolkien art are these last ones: John Howe, Alan Lee, Ted Naismith, who are people who will come back again. And, of course, the man himself. Here, and that's interesting, an image that's, I don't think, in the book interior, unless I'm forgetting, an image of Edoras in Rohan, the burial mounds going up into the Great Hall. Another beautiful image, and of course Alan Lee, because he's painted. Well, it's either Alan Lee or it's maybe Michael Haig. I think, Michael Haig was also the one doing the watercolor paintings. But I'm going to guess Alan Lee. In any case, that was Tolkien's World, a gorgeous collection of paintings of Middle-earth. Very inspirational. And if you can find your copy of this that you want, go ahead and look for it. Or if a Tolkien lover, this might be a good gift. As I love it. It's visions of Tolkien's world untainted by popular adaptation, really. In fact, often inspiring that popular adaptation. And while we're here, I have to, of course, tell you that if you're looking for other fantasy works that maybe you're not as familiar with, I would recommend my comic Sidequesters. Very inspired, of course, by Tolkien, especially his ability to create worlds that are believable and livable and characters that are deeply human. This is the first issue, starring my main character, Cindy, and this is the collected volume of the first 8 issues. And we have Cindy and my other main character, Yaren, who is a 9-foot lizard man with a big hammer. And you can buy either this first issue or this collected volume on my website. And you can also give it a read on Global Comics if you're just curious about it. And if you want more fantasy from me, I have 2 volumes of an anthology of dark fantasy stories that involve magic users or Haxan. And they all tend to have a dark, sort of sinister approach to the magic users. And I am very proud of these, and there's just a nice variety in them. And you can also find these on Global Comics, or if you're interested, you can buy these volumes from my website as well. And if you want something that's a little lighter, a little more fun, I have my webcomic 3-panel Origin. This collects the first 3 years of comics, but I do new comics every Thursday. I create a character, tell their origin in 3 panels, and it's kind of weird and embarrassing. And of course, this is a book of short stories that involve many of those characters. And you can buy both of these on my website as well. So until next time, keep reading Tolkien and keep the imagination alive.